Hi everybody! Welcome back to another wonderful week of Get Your Play Online. We're so glad you are all coming out to join us. And this is our very last week of summer programming, so we want to thank everybody that's been tuning in and checking out all of our videos throughout the summer. We've really appreciated all of your support, and we hope you're going to stick around as we do some more really exciting programming throughout the new school year. So if you are new to Get Your Play Online, my name is Morgan, and every Thursday I like to come on here and we chat about science and what it's like to be a scientist and how to do science experiments and all sorts of fun stuff. And so you can see today, you may be wondering what this is. We are actually going to learn about how to plant your very own popcorn plant. I know, that sounds really kind of silly, kind of weird, and you may be wondering, how do we grow popcorn? I thought popcorn was a snack. Popcorn actually comes from corn, and today we are going to learn how to plant your very own corn. And so you can see here's an example of it. I'm going to show you all about this really cool plant as we move throughout our video. We're going to learn how to plant the seeds, how to plant the pot, plant it in the pot, and we are going to learn about how we're going to measure our plant's growth. So you're going to need things like pots, or plants, and we're going to learn all about that today. So to start off our video, we're going to go over the supplies you're going to need. So we're going to talk about our supplies, and then we're going to talk about our craft, and we're going to learn how to do something called propagation. And propagation is how you turn a seed into a plant, and we're going to do it in a technique that'll allow the popcorn plant to grow a little bit faster than it would if you just planted it right into the soil. So we're going to start with our supply list, then I'm going to show you my example that I planted last week, and I'm going to show you what that looks like, and I'm going to teach you how to make your very own greenhouse. The greenhouse is what we're going to propagate our plant in, and then we're going to go ahead and finish up by doing a craft, and we're going to make our own little ruler so we can measure how big our corn plant is growing, because corn can grow very, very quickly. So this is going to be really exciting, and I'm so glad you're all here with me. So let's start off by going over our supply list, and then I'll show you all of my supplies. So first you're going to need popcorn kernels. So you're not going to want to use popcorn from a bag. It's like a bag of popcorn that you'd heat up in the microwave. You're going to want to use popcorn kernels that you would cook on the stove, because the stuff in the bag is going to have some different chemicals on it that may not allow our plant to grow very well. Next you're going to need some paper towel, and then you're going to need some water, some soil, a pot, a ruler, some markers, and cardboard. So those are going to be to decorate our very own ruler. Then you're going to need a spoon that's going to help you transfer some of your soil, and then you're just going to need some scissors, and the scissors are also going to help out with our craft. So now that we went over our supplies, I want to go through and show you what all our supplies look like so you can have an easier time identifying them at home. Alright, so number one is our popcorn kernels. I put them inside a bag. Oh, I think that's actually a supply. I forgot, you're going to need a plastic bag. So you can see here, they're just small corn kernels. You can use any color corn kernel that you want, whatever you have on hand. These are just regular old popping corn that you would make for a snack. So we also need a Ziploc bag. You're going to want one that zips at the top, not one that folds. The zip is going to help keep our moisture inside when we make our greenhouse out of our bag, so it's going to be really important. You're also going to need a paper towel. I just folded mine up, and I'll show you why in a second. Any kind of paper towel will work. This is going to help keep our seeds moist as they grow. Now you're going to need some water. I just have some in this little dish right here, and that's going to be used to wet our paper towel. Next, we're going to need some soil. I just have some regular old potting soil here. Any soil you have will work perfectly. Next, you're going to need a pot. So I have this pot here, and I have a little thing on the bottom so it can sit on it, so if I overwater it, it won't spill everywhere. So this is the pot I'm going to use. Next we need a ruler. I couldn't find my small ruler, so I have a 3-foot ruler. You do not need a 3-foot ruler. Any ruler you have will work. This is going to help us make our very own measuring tool that we are going to use to measure how big our corn is growing. So we have our ruler. Next we're going to need some markers. So I just have some markers in a Christmas bin here, but we're going to go ahead. So our winter theme basket has some markers. We're going to use that to decorate our ruler that we make. Next, we're going to need some cardboard. I just used some cardboard that a package came in, so this will work perfectly. Next is my spoon. My spoon is what is going to help me scoop the soil from one bowl to the other without getting my hands all dirty. And then lastly, we need some scissors. Our scissors are going to help us cut our cardboard when we are making our ruler. Remember to be very careful with scissors. We don't want to cut your fingers or your hands or anything. So when you're using scissors, make sure you always hold them down. You don't want to run with them, and making sure you're using these very safely. All right, so I think what we're going to do first today is I'm going to show you what my, actually, I think first we're going to go ahead and show you how to make your very own popcorn propagation bag. So I'll show you what mine looks like. I planted these last Thursday, right after my live. So these have been growing for about 1 week. You can see down here there are lots of roots. And after we make our very own propagation bag, I'm going to go ahead and open this up and show you what they look like. So that'll be really cool. But you can see, here's a little sneak peek. You can see that our corn has started to grow roots. So that's really cool. All right, so I'm going to open up my bag. Put these popcorn kernels in there so they wouldn't roll around before I was ready for them. I'm going to take those out. So we have our zip top bag, just like that. And now I'm going to move my kernels off to the side. Because first we're going to need to make sure our paper towel is wet. So I'm going to move those all out of the way. Kind of slippery, there we go. All right. So here's our paper towel. I'm going to fold it in half and then fold it in half again. Fold it in half one more time. So I folded it in half about 3 or 4 times, and that's just going to make it easier for us to get it wet. You don't want to get your paper towel soaking wet. It just needs to be moist. So I might just keep folding it and then just dip it inside the water and let the water crawl up the paper towel. You may be able to see it. This is a good way of getting a paper towel wet without getting it super, super wet. So you just dip the ends in the water, and the water can travel up the paper towel. So it's a little bit easier than getting the entire paper towel completely soaked. All right. I'll move my water off to the side, and now I'm going to open up all of those folds that I just made, just like that. Keep on opening until our paper towel is just folded in half once. So this is our paper towel completely open, and we're going to, I'll put it down on the bag here for a second, and you're going to lay that out just like this. And now you're going to take your popcorn kernels and you're going to just sprinkle them on one side of your paper towel. So I like to spread mine out and give them lots of room to grow. Since you could see on the other one, the roots will start to grow pretty quickly. You may notice roots starting to grow within a couple days of planting it. So just like that, I gave them lots of space. Now I'm going to fold it over once, kind of pat it, and that will hopefully keep the popcorn in place a little bit better. And now I'm going to fold it one more time over on itself. Just like that, and you can fold it as many times as you need to get it to fit inside your bag, but I think this is going to be good. Now you open up your Ziploc bag and you can slide your paper towel in there. Open it up just like that. And once it's inside, you're going to want to press out the air and then make sure it's sealed nice and tight. So now what I do after I'm done, I like to just leave this in my kitchen. It doesn't need to be in direct sunlight. It should be somewhere with a little bit of sun, but it doesn't need to be outside or anything. And you're going to want to check and make sure your paper towel stays moist. You don't want it to stay really wet. If it stays too wet, then your corn kernels can actually kind of fall apart and they won't work very well. So you just want to make sure it's moist but not super wet. But if it gets too dry, they won't have enough water to grow. So I'll give you a little close-up of what that looks like. You can see the corn kernels in there. And now this is the part where you're going to have to be kind of patient, but like I said, you may be able to start seeing seeds within a couple days, which is really cool. So I'm going to put that off to the side, and I'm going to wait, and hopefully in the next few days I have some seeds. But I think we should go ahead and take a look at what it looks like after 1 week, and I think you're going to be very surprised with how long some of these roots are. So I'm just going to go ahead and open up my bag just like this, and take out my paper towel. Oh my goodness, I can see all of the roots. Look at all of those. Wow, those really grew. Here's a good example of what they look like. This one looks like it didn't quite stay in the paper towel, and that's okay, because it still grew quite a long root there. I think that's a few inches long. That's really cool. We're going to put that off to the side. Now I'm going to start to carefully open this paper towel. You want to be careful because the roots can actually grow through the paper towel, and if you open it too quickly, they may rip. You ready for this? Oh my goodness. Look at all of those popcorn plants. Is that not amazing? In 1 week, look at how big these plants grew. They grew right through the other side of the paper towel. That is pretty darn incredible. Look at that. So, what you want to do is you want to be very careful, and you can start pulling out each individual plant. So you can see here how your roots started to grow, and then this is actually going to be the corn plant right here. You can see it growing up at the top because corn plants have multiple different leaves. So you can see here, this one was planted many weeks ago, so you can see how there's many different leaves growing off the stalk. And you can see how this little one right here is starting to do the same thing. So here's what the roots look like when they're first growing, and this is what the roots look like after they've been growing for some time. I took this one right out of the ground right before our video, so I could have an example of what your popcorn plant is going to look like, but it's pretty cool looking at them side by side. So we have this big old popcorn plant, and then we have this little baby one that's just starting out. Super cool. So you're going to go through and you can carefully start pulling out those popcorn plants. And you're going to want to be very careful, but you can start to try to pull them apart because they like to wind together. So once again, look at that root system. These roots are what's going to go inside the soil, and this is what allows the popcorn plant to get the nutrients it needs to grow. So things that plants need to grow include soil that has nutrients inside of it, sunlight, and water, and it just needs to be put in a place that is suitable for growing. So popcorn plants like a lot of sun. So that's something you should think about when you're picking a place to pot your popcorn plant. That is a tongue twister. Picking a place to pot your popcorn plant. My goodness, how many P's could we fit in that sentence? So you can see, in 1 week, this one tiny seed grew all of this and all of this. That is pretty incredible. Now today I'm only going to plant a few, so I might not pull out all of these. But I just think these roots are so amazing. So cool. So I'm going to just pull out a few here. I'm going to leave some on my paper towel that I can work with a little bit later. Something to be aware of, that if you leave your popcorn plant inside the bag for too long, it can actually start to mold, so you want to watch for that as well. So I would recommend taking it out of your bag maybe around 5 days or so, depending on how quickly they're growing. Once you start seeing roots, you can take them out of your bag and you can plant them. You don't have to wait the entire week. So if they mold, you're not going to want to plant them because they are not going to be very healthy. So I think those are going to be perfect, just like that. I'm going to put the other ones aside for a second. Now we're going to get our pot. So this is the pot we were talking about earlier. And so this pot right here is not too large, but it's also important to always make sure you're growing things in pots with holes in the bottom, because this allows any extra water that you put inside of your plant to drain out the bottom. So if it doesn't have a hole, it'll actually sit and it can make your plant kind of sick and not grow very well. So we don't want that to happen. So what we're going to do is we're going to fill up our pot with soil. So this is potting soil, just like that. I'll move you down just a bit. And I'm going to use my spoon so I don't get my hands really dirty. And I'm just going to start to pour some soil inside of the pot. You don't want to fill it all the way up to the top because we're going to add some additional soil after we put in our popcorn plant. So I'll show it to you. Let's see. You want a nice nutrient soil. This soil has some, it looks like it has some fertilizer in it, which will help our plant to grow. So since these roots are so long, we don't want to fill it all the way up with soil because we want those roots to be able to travel lower down in the pot than our plant is. So when we plant it, this part of the plant will go inside the soil, and this part of the plant will be what extends outside of the soil. So we want to make sure we have opportunities for our roots to grow. So what you're going to do is you're just going to carefully place those roots in there. They're going to be pretty flexible, so you can bend them a little bit if you need to get them to fit. So you're going to place it in there, making sure the green part is sticking up. You can kind of see it right here. And then we're going to add some additional soil to support the plant as they grow. Another important thing you want to note is you don't want to put too many plants into one pot. It may overcrowd them and then they won't be able to grow very well. All right, so that looks good. So you can see how I've started to just place those in there. You can see the roots. Now we want to cover up those roots so only the green part is sticking out. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do that now. I'm going to add a little bit more water to my soil so it's nice and nutrient rich for my plants. Makes it a little bit easier to place where I need it to go as well. All right, perfect. So again, with my spoon, I'm just going to carefully place that soil inside of my pot. You may need some help during this part because it's a little tricky to be able to make sure that the roots are getting covered while the plants are staying out. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just keep placing soil in there. So our pot is nice and full of soil to protect the roots of our plant. It's just important that all of the roots are covered up when you're all done, or else they might not grow as well. I think I just need a couple more spoonfuls, just like that. Help our roots go down there. All right, that looks good. So you can see we covered up all of those roots, so now all we have left is our 1, 2, 3, 4 plants in there. I don't want to put any more in this pot because it's going to get too overcrowded. So after they grow, you're going to want to transfer them to a bigger pot or to an area in your backyard maybe, or your front yard that you have lots of soil and lots of room for them to grow, or else they may not grow too well and they'll stay small and not turn into a corn. So I'd like to take a chance also to compare the root systems of a baby plant and a big plant. So here's our big plant. I think I planted this about 2 months ago or so, so maybe about 8 weeks, and it's already grown this much, which is pretty cool. So you can see at the very end, you can't see the popcorn seed anymore, so that's completely dissolved, but it has a pretty long set of roots. So you can see the roots right here, and that's what was under the ground. So everything above this point was above the ground, and this was below the ground. And I pulled this out right before our video, so we had an example. And then this is our baby one. So you can see that you can still see our popcorn seed, and then our root system is back here, which is pretty cool. And then we have our plant. So if we wanted to compare it, this is what it would look like. So here's our baby one, and here's our grown-up one. And you can see how different they look and how much corn grows. Corn grows really, really quickly. So it's a really fun experiment to watch grow. I think it's really fun. Every time I've done it, I've been so surprised how quickly all of a sudden these guys are sprouting out of the soil. So it's really cool. So since corn plants grow so quickly, I thought it would be really fun to be able to make a ruler that we can keep track of our corn growth. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a piece of cardboard and our ruler, and I know most people are not going to have a ruler quite so long, but what we're going to do is we're going to make a 1-foot ruler out of cardboard. And the reason we're going to make it out of cardboard is so that we can decorate it, which I think is going to be really fun. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to mark off 12 inches on my cardboard. And I want my ruler to be, let's see, about this long and that thick, because I want to decorate it with all sorts of different designs, because I think that would be really cool to be able to see how big my corn is getting. So I'll give you an example. It looks like I'm going to make my ruler about this big right here, and I'm going to carefully cut it out with my scissors. So being very careful for my fingers, I'm going to use my scissors here, and I'm going to cut, keeping my fingers tucked back and out of the way of the scissors. Go ahead and cut very carefully. If you're one of our younger viewers, you can always ask a grown-up or someone else at home with you to help you with this part if you need help. We want to make sure nobody gets hurt while using scissors. Alright. And it can be kind of tricky, I'm telling you. Sometimes I need help too. So, here is our ruler. Now the fun part about cardboard, instead of using a regular ruler, is that we're going to be able to decorate it. First, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my ruler and I'm going to make 1-inch marks on my cardboard ruler so I know how much it's growing. So let's see here. Spilled a little bit of water, which you're seeing right there. And I think I want to use a purple marker. So for every inch on the ruler, I'm going to make an inch on my cardboard, an inch mark, and I'm going to mark it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Perfect. That's a good start for our ruler. So you can see here I have my inches marked off. And so how this is going to work is you're going to be able to take your ruler and slide it next to your plant and see how tall it's growing. So it looks like ours right here is right about 1.5 inches tall. So that's really cool. And now that we have that on there, you're going to be able to decorate your ruler however you want to decorate it. I think I want to, I think I would like to draw my name on it. I'm going to use this cool green marker. So I'm going to draw M-O-R-G-A-N. So let's see, I have my name on there just like that. And what's really cool is that while you start school, you may be growing too. So just like your plant grows, people grow too, especially when you're younger. So that's really cool. So going back to school is really exciting. You can learn more things, you can grow, and it's just really cool. Now, another cool part about using a cardboard ruler is that you can mark your corn's growth and what day you marked it. So for example, we could slide it in here and we can mark our corns. Let's see, right here we can put a little mark right above where it is. So see your little mark? That's how tall it was. And so what I'm going to do is right next to it, I'm going to write 8/27, because today is August 27th. And so every time you come and check how tall your corn is getting, you can add another little date. So that's an easier way to keep track of how quickly it's growing. So on 8/27, it was almost 2 inches tall. I know, 2 inches in just a week. Super cool. So to finish out our video today, I think I'm going to add a little bit more decoration. I think I might add some polka dots, maybe some stars. And what's cool is I can use my back to school supplies to do all of my decorating. So these are some supplies you can use for school and this fun project. Add some polka dots. I think I'm going to add some stars next. And I think I like how my ruler turned out. So I added my name right here, M-O-R-G-A-N. I added some pink polka dots and some blue stars. And I wanted to make sure I left some room on the side so I could measure my corn as it got taller and taller. So let's see how tall our big corn is. So if we put where it came out of the ground next to our ruler, we can stretch the top leaf all the way up to 11 inches. So like I said, corn grows really fast. So this is going to be a really fun activity. And if you plant it now, you can see how big it gets as you go throughout your school year. And it'll be a perfect fall decoration, and it's going to be really cool. So I'm so glad everyone came out and tuned into our very last Get Your Play Online weekly summer activity. And I'm so glad you came and joined me on all of my science experiments, and I hope everybody has a wonderful start to your new school year. Thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great day.